Hello and welcome to another episode of Three Black Frat Grads. I'm Greg Playground. I'm here with my buddy Mark Skinner. Say hello, Mark.
Hello.
And my buddy Ken Nelson. Say hello, Ken.
Hey there.
And we've been shooting for a long time. We all graduated from Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York, in the fine art photography program, and we have a love for photography, and we get together, fairly regularly and talk about it. So today's topic, excuse me, good cookie. Today's topic is AI and virtual reality. AI has come onto the scene and just like shook up the visual arts world, in my opinion, and it's doing quite a bit. So we're gonna have a little discussion about it. And if you'd like to comment, please subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we have posted another episode. And I guess I'm going to kick it off. My experience with AI is limited, but I've seen what it can do, and it is quite impressive. There's a you can take a regular photo. There's a couple of apps out there that you can take and just have it augment your images, and it gives you like several images. Amazing stuff. You can go to the next image, Ken, and it's like, wow. It just generates stuff. They've shown on a couple of news programs or entertainment programs that have shown, okay, you can drop those. That shows that you can type in a few words about a topic into the AI program, and it will generate amazing images basically out of nothing. And a lot of artists and photographers and um, other visual artists are quite stunned by the fact that this AI can just just images and then augment them and add timelines, or time periods. You can come back as a Renaissance person or as a fairy or whatever, but it augments the image in ways that were before the AI was. It took quite a bit of time and effort to do either manually, artistically, for those who are that talented, and or those who are talented digitally who could manipulate the image in Photoshop or Lightroom to get a posterized or what would you call that? Uh, um, like
It's very
like
illustrative.
the books. Yeah, the illustrator, but like those like a graphic novel. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's I wanted to talk about that, so you can lose that image, Ken, and put it out there. Virtual reality, and like it's like the brownie when it came out and changed the world where everybody can take a picture now. Electronics is coming around in between augmented reality or virtual reality, and now with the AI when it's stepping into the visual arts realm, it's changing the game. So, what do you guys think?
I think the images that you've selected, there's a lot of imagery that's in that same genre floating around on the web. A lot of people who draw, whether they draw on traditional media or on iPads or tools like that, they tend to draw a lot of characters in those styles, and so there's a lot of um, images on the web for the AI to grab and aggregate.
Okay, that's all you got. That's it.
Well,
It's
yeah,
really shaking up the art world, because they could do the same thing with. They could say, okay, I want a watercolor in the impressionistic style, um, by an artist done in 2000 or something, and it'll beep bop boop and spit out amazing artwork or
well,
stylized work is what you ask for. It
I,
searches the web. It's connected to the internet. It's amazing.
I mean, you tend to advocate for technology a lot more than I do, although you called me a gearhead. The interesting thing is that collectively, in terms of the history of art, history of photography, this seems to be a means to synthesize all of the illustrative still medium together. You know, you've got photography, you've got clip art. You know, it kind of looks like you're creating your own clip art without necessarily having to have the subject before you. Um, and I think Ken's going to touch on some things a little later, I'm sure, about some issues that one might have with that process.
Yeah.
But uh, you know, in terms of the images that you've selected to show, I would say, yeah, there's a lot of material for the AI to sift through and select. And it's a very, particularly in the last 20 or 30 years, very popular, and probably the entire life of the public web. You know, that type of imagery has been posted quite a bit in a variety of ways: photographs, stills from movies, you know, photoshopped photos, illustrations, both, you know, I mentioned this before, charcoal, whatever it is, painting. So that's really about all I have to say about those particular things. I'm more interested in how the AI functions, and
In
where
what
what the
mean? In
advances.
what manner? What do you mean? How it functions?
Well, I mean, if you go to, I don't mean to do this, but if you go to that first photo that I had of the individual,
Yeah. Let me do that now. Give me a sec.
and um, with these AI generators, I went to aigenerator.org, and I put in the prompt: Gordon Parks using a digital camera. Now, I don't necessarily see the particular camera that the photographer in this photo is using as a digital camera, but I thought it was an interesting way to somehow change the camera. You know, I don't know what this. I don't know how many photographs were pulled for this composite. I mean, basically, it's compositing. You can see the left hand is really illegible, for the lack of a better way of putting it. But the basic idea of how someone operates a camera is there, and you know, Gordon Parks is kind of exists in this historical context. He's not young here. He's not necessarily as old as he was when he passed. But you know, this is kind of how, in a weird way, how memory works, and it's sort of our collective cultural memory. You know he's African American. We know he, you know, worked a lot in black and white, and in the time when black and white was prevalent, we know that he worked a long time, so it's a little bit gray, and we know he worked with a variety of cameras. So, you know, this is kind of an idea of who Gordon Parks is. You know, we know he's a photographer, and that's really it. It's an interesting
So it's
portrait that was generated.
so
And
a
so if you go
digital
to
patchwork is what you're saying. It's just a digital patchwork.
yeah, it's a digital patchwork, but it's interesting what they select. And if you go to the next set, the four images, I put one prompt in and I used it 4 times. And that prompt was Gordon Parks photographing Barack Obama. Now, I thought it was very interesting because I wanted to take two people who wouldn't be together, and I wanted to use African Americans because one of the biggest criticisms of photography from a technical standpoint is that, you know, color fidelity of film was never calibrated properly for black people. Television, you know, there was a comedian who I forgot who said it, but you know, he used to calibrate his television because he knew it was right when the Jeffersons looked good, that kind of thing. And so I wanted to
Okay.
see, with a subject that exists in our minds primarily in color, and an African American, another African American who exists primarily in black and white. I wanted to see how this artificial intelligence would render and create a collage or a composite, really create a
Okay.
composite with these two figures interacting. So the first photo that came up was this one in the upper left.
So
And
what do you think of the results?
I think that the interesting thing, the thing that makes it intelligent, I think the thing that makes it intelligent is that it learns when you are unsatisfied with the results. The first one was the result. Now, that's obviously wrong. You know, it's a little bit of Gordon Parks, but there's only evidence of Barack Obama in that there's a suit that's kind of like reminiscent of the kind that he wore as president. And then we see photographing. So you can see this tool is sort of piecing together all the elements of my statement. Then you go to the right, the next one is there. And it knows that someone is engaged in the idea of photographing. So it knew that I wasn't satisfied with the results. So it analyzes its own results. And then comes up with the second one. Well, it's not quite right because that's not Gordon Parks at all. It may be Gordon Parks's body, maybe, I don't know. Or maybe something that looks like it would have been Gordon Parks' body.
That's like a
sort of Barack Obama face.
photo.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's looking.
That's a Franken photo. That's
I mean,
Franken photo.
Yeah, it's very
It doesn't
interesting.
look right at all.
Yeah, it looks like a cell phone connected to a lens, a cinema.
Yeah.
And then the lower left-hand corner, you see that, you know, when I ran it a third time, it knows I want to see one person interacting, photographing another. So maybe it realizes that it wasn't clear that it was photographed. Maybe I was just holding something up to my face. You know, that maybe he's just holding something up to his face. Now maybe I need to put a tripod to indicate that there's a photograph. But this looks like another person who has a mustache like Gordon Parks, not quite Gordon. I mean, they both look like iterations of Barack Obama in some way. And then the final one, you can see that the gentleman in the center, I don't know who the gentleman on the left is supposed to be in the background.
Mhm.
So we're looking over the shoulder. I don't even know who that's supposed to be. But you can see that the gentleman in the suit is supposed to be Gordon Parks because he's got kind of Gordon Parks' smile, but it's overlaid and over Barack Obama's head shape. And then I can't tell what kind of camera this is.
It's a straight Franken photo, man. That's just creepy looking.
Right, but what I'm getting at is that it's interesting that it trolls the web for every probably Google search of the
Right.
words I've used. And it compiles these things, and this was the same prompt 4 different times. And so you look and you go, well, you know, how many iterations of this do I have to create before I get something that's acceptable? And it's just interesting to see that it does this. I don't think the technology is quite there yet. I think
it does some things better than others, but it most definitely is in its commercial infancy right now.
Right.
Sure.
Right. I mean, it's at this point, it's still an interesting novelty, but you know, I mean, what was it? We're speaking together via Skype, and it's an amazing tool. And if you remember the Austin Powers movie, one of the big jokes was that Austin Powers thought there would be television phones.
Gajillion dollars.
Right, but he thought there'd be telephones, and then I think it was somewhere in the early 90s, the movie was produced, and at the time the web was so much in its infancy that the picture was jaggy, and you know, and now we think nothing of just and he was in a Jaguar, so we think nothing of having these types of conversations. And it's been a fantasy of illustrators since Dick Tracy. So what I'm saying is right now, this AI is in its infancy. I'm sure it will find a place along the clip art or the, hey, I've got an aluminum siding business. I need to show guys installing aluminum siding. I can generate that really quickly. But there will always be a need for some sort of originally generated material human interaction. I mean, the question is, will the business contract or will these items be held to the same standard as traditional art and put in galleries and museums because of the inventiveness of the prompt?
I think what it's doing is absolutely amazing. Um, but I know there was like probably a conspiracy theory story here. It was years ago or maybe last year about a computer that became self-aware. And everybody's thinking, oh, Terminator, blah blah blah. They're going to attack, blah blah blah. But I don't think it's that far off. For it to just go out and select these things. They're getting more and more intelligent, and I kind of like that they're you know doing something like that. The ramifications are not good. I remember I was working as an interning at NBC when the graphics department went on strike, and they were doing the graphics, by pen and paper and brushes and ink and markers, and they went out, and while they were out, the company brought in like about 20 graphics computers, and they only brought back. I mean, the department was about 60 people, I guess. They only brought back about 20. They didn't need them. The computers were just that fast, and they weren't great graphics, but they were better than, just hand, and then the time it takes to do it by hand. Whereas you can just grab stuff from different sources, clip art like we used to do, and that's just set. Remember that? And it's the technology is just going to get better and better and better. It's not going away, and like you said, it may come to a point where it becomes critically judged. Is it art because a machine did it or an artificial intelligence?
Not so much the machine, but the creativity of the prompt. I mean, as it increases in its prowess, the prompts, you could probably put an entire paragraph in prose, and you'll get you might get a TikTok or a YouTube short, 15 seconds based on the script that you've inserted into this. How at what point does that become what happens? We might see the beginnings of that, but right now I think it's more interesting as a novelty, and I'm sure it will have practical purposes for some. I'm sure with a little photoshopping, some of this material could be very useful, but I wouldn't use it as evidence in a court case.
Yeah. Well, I mean, will it at some point, become like, like deep fakes? They do deep fakes with video now, where you can get one person to say damn near anything, but it's a fake. And usually it'll take folks quite some time to figure out that it is a fake. So,
right.
All right, so thumbs up, thumbs down. Or I know we're not there yet, but
thumbs up. No, I would say, when I say I wouldn't use it as evidence in a court case, I mean, like, I wouldn't show it as proof. If there's a bloody knife on the ground, I wouldn't show an AI generated image of a knife on the ground, bloody knife on the ground, as here's a knife, or a knife that looks like it that we put here to show you what it would have looked like. Not like, that's what I mean. There are other reasons.
Can you guys see me? Can you guys see me, hear me?
Yeah, I can still see you and hear you.
I can hear you, but I cannot see you, but that's okay.
Yeah, so you just brought up the notion of deep fakes, and so I just wanted to sort of go into that realm. And I just put up a screen grab of an article about an image that was AI generated. That is considered,
okay.
Yeah, it's a deep fake. So the image that you're looking at is actually not of a real person, but it's just an AI generated image. And so the question then becomes, how is it being used, and how will it be used? If it's being used to represent a person, then why, and what's the ulterior motive, right? And then it becomes, and it not only that, but it becomes multi-layered, because all the images are generated based on algorithms searching the internet. And so if it's grabbing your image and using your image as a part of that tool process, part of that creation process, then it is using your image without your permission, and therefore creating something that is part of you, but you haven't given it the official go-ahead to do that. So that's sort of what's being bandied about within the art world, which is
Right.
how to be able to protect your images from
Right.
these random searches of artificial intelligence so that it doesn't grab your image. And I'm thinking maybe it would be segmented to a part of the internet if that were part of the case. That's the only thing I could see or hear about it. But I just wanted to sort of chime in on that part of the conversation because
Would it be something that you could call fair usage by the AI or no?
no,
Well, it's a good.
No,
I think it's.
because
I
it's
think
your
it's a,
image, right?
yeah,
I think it's. I think it's an interesting uh, illustration from a technical standpoint that it's able to replicate that. But I think that's also a function of the fact that our standards for what qualifies as a publishable image has greatly reduced. I mean, you guys know from when we were learning, uh, depending on what the focus of the magazine or the book was, you would be
Right.
able to see. And I'm not talking about the difference between a studio photograph and a street photo. What I'm talking about is there are qualitative differences. Uh, Certainly, the amount of interest in the image. I mean, that wouldn't have passed as a portrait. It was someone would have just said, "Oh, some guy held the camera up to himself and took a picture." You know,
Yeah.
you know, almost every selfie today would have been considered useless.
Well, back in the
At the
day,
expense of sounding
things
like
change.
an old guy. Right. So the aesthetics have
Things
changed
change.
tremendously. And because the aesthetics have changed tremendously, the computer understands uh, the multitude of images that it has to pick from. And probably it has more selfies to learn than any other type of photography. So in a weird
Possibly.
way, in a weird way, the best way I'd say to combat AI is for organizations to commission new photography with professional photographers with custom lighting. In a weird way, that makes more sense. At least for a while, you'll be able to create more imagery that doesn't look like a selfie.
Why combat? I mean, they've got access to Getty and all the stock houses. What do you mean
well,
by combat?
well, here's
Go
an
ahead.
interesting. Here's something that you'll find interesting because again, it's kind of interesting that you bring up Getty. Getty is now suing an image generator for
Wow.
copyright infringement.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so
We're here, Ken. Me and you, we're here, man.
okay. The image repository claims that Stability AI unlawfully copied millions of copyrighted protected images to train stable
Wow.
diffusion without seeking a license. All right.
Wow. Yeah.
So I mean, their
It's that new.
images are on the web because they
Hmm.
have to have access to the web. So it's
Right.
controlling the web, searching images that are only available by license, but they're available on the web
Right.
and
Right.
using those images without permission.
Wow.
I felt the same way about stock photography in the beginning of my
Yeah.
career. I felt that there should have
It's
been
infancy.
there should have
So,
I felt that no one should use stock photography and that photographers should be commissioned to create new works for everything. But a lot of the photographers who were already established at the time, it's the late 80s, they felt that they could use their outtakes and repurpose them. And I get it. They've already invested in film and processing and all of that, even though in many cases they were getting the money back from the advertisers, but the news people weren't. They went on their own junkets and then had to get the money for the story. So
right.
I understood it. I just felt that even stock imagery would lead to something eventually like this, where there'd be so many images, where the need for a properly versed artisan would be so greatly diminished that we'd find ourselves in this sort of situation where it's just a lot of pictures
Well, yeah. Because it's in its infancy and it's reaching out and doing stuff that has never been done before. Yeah.
And just one more article. Artists file a class action suit against AI generated companies for copyright or
Yeah.
uh, what is it? Some artists began waging a legal fight against the alleged theft of billions of copyrighted images used to train AI art generators to produce unique styles without compensating the artist for asking for consent.
Wow.
Right, and you can
Yeah.
see the AI generator .org that I used to create those images you saw earlier. I mean, someone took those pictures, particularly the black and white film photos. Someone took the photographs. They processed the film. And how many? Who knows how many images were cut and paste to create.
25. We're at the 25-minute mark, gentlemen.
All right,
Okay.
so it's on you, Greg. I have no more to say.
No, we can wrap it up here. I mean, that's some really good points that you made, Ken, and some good points Mark made also. Um, I'm just saying, it's here. It's going to get better and better. It's not going to go away, unfortunately.
Go ahead.
What?
No, I was gonna say, and for complete disclosure, I have since changed my mind about stock photography. I actually have stock images that have sold in 2 different agencies, so I can't really say that. At a certain point, you have to accept the train keeps moving, right, Greg?
And
about
and now that you have skin in the game too.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got a body of work, and I still don't. I would prefer to get new work, but
Very good, Mark. The train keeps moving. Yeah, I know. Reporting somewhere on the San Joaquin lines at 15 heading north to Sacramento in the Bay Area.
Gotta say capital city.
Capital City, yeah. Capital City, yeah. The Capital City corridor. Yeah. Well, you guys got anything else? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Essentially, where are we for AI?
I say give me 15 years and I may be okay with it.
Okay.
I say it hurts my heart for all the folks who've been robbed of photographs and they don't even know that they've been robbed of photographs because they put their, let's put it, face it. I don't care if you're, if you're photographing in your bedroom on a coffee table in your living room, or if you're in a war zone, you have literally invested time and energy, and in many instances money, into creating something. And it's one thing to resell it, but there's another thing for someone else to just take it and take a piece of it and and then resell it in en masse like that. It's not even satire. They're selling these as serious efforts. If they sold them like the photographs I showed, they were kind of goofy, but if you're showing this as really, something that's not just a joke, then it's bad.
Yeah.
Understood.
Now,
okay, well,
again,
ahead,
let me just add that if there's a way, and I would the only thing I can foresee in me being okay with, if there were a way to segment the section of, like I said earlier, segment the section of the internet for fair usage images that AI control and use, and only there shall they use that repository. Will I be okay with
this far, no further.
it? That's it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, wrapping it up, I'm gonna say AI, VR, virtual reality. It's gonna do nothing but get better. Um, there are folks that like their dogs better than people, and those people who trust computers more than people. So, there will be always those who would rather, generate stuff on their own or be more comfortable with a computer doing it. Whereas, I don't care how good the technology gets and as flawed as we may be, there's nothing like the human touch, the human condition. You can't really take a machine can't experience emotions, and if it can get to a point where it can evoke that, then good on it. But um, I'd say humans first. Maybe is that racist?
It's humanist.
Anti-machine, humanist. I'll take that. Um, but I'm sure we're going to continue having discussions about this as AI gets better and does more and more. So I guess that's going to wrap it up for us. I'm Greg Claiborne here for Three Black Pride Grads with my buddy Kenny Nelson. Say hi, Kenny, and Mark Skinner. And
Hello.
that's going to do it for this episode. Keep shooting. Don't forget, subscribe and ring that bell so that you know when a new episode is going to be online. Reporting somewhere north of Los Angeles, I'm Greg Claiborne. Peace.